Hello, everyone. My name is Gitika Gorthy, and today I'm very, very honored and excited to be interviewing a very, very special space champion, Miss Martina Dimoska. Martina is a NASA Space Apps Challenge local lead for 2022, hosting two prestigious historic locations, Mountain View in Silicon Valley, California, and Cleveland, annually partnering with NASA Glenn Research Center in Ohio. She's a published research scholar, a talented, multifaceted engineer, a STEM and space shaper, and a leader of many initiatives. A top rated plus freelancer on Upwork and an overall creative soul that innovates and influences her many prevalent communities. Martina was recently awarded the Emerging Space Leader Grantee program by the International Astronautical Federation, which she received at IAC, which was held in Paris, France this year, which congratulations, Martina. And she also became a delegate of the Space Generation Advisory Council, and she will attend the Space Generation Congress on a scholarship, which is SGAC's annual meeting in support of the United Nations Program on Space Applications. On top of all of that, she is an analog astronaut, and I'm so, so excited to learn and dive into what got her excited about space to do and accomplish all that she has already done in the industry. So welcome, Miss Martina. Thank you so much for taking your time to inspire the next generation of aerospace leaders.
Thank you so much for the invitation. If there's noise in the habitat, I'm currently in an analog habitat, is because we're onboarding a lot of food items, so you might hear some background noise. I apologize, I'm doing my best to do this interview, but thank you so much. That was an incredible introduction, and I'm so thankful for all the kind words, and I'm happy to do this.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this, even though you're literally in an analog habitat right now, which I think is absolutely amazing and can really provide a lot of our audience like an insight to what are analog missions. So maybe we should start off there of could you describe for those who might not know what is an analog mission and what's your mission right now?
Sure. So I'm still onboarding and training. So we're getting everything prepped for my analog, which is actually starting tomorrow. However, the prepping and the training are a bit intense and it's crowded with a lot of people. Analog missions are mimicking space habitat that is the lunar, wow, that is the moon or Mars. Sorry, I twist words sometimes because I'm thinking on a lot of languages. But yeah, they're mimicking a space scenario, which can be a ship or a base, and they're mimicking the same conditions that we have to undergo. Analog research is really incredible and important for a lot of checkups before a mission. We want to see if everything works well, if the research is sufficient, if the crew can endure that, and so on and so forth. So currently, I am on mission 14. We are on the inflatable lunar Martian analog habitat of the University of North Dakota. And if you pardon the background and all of the stacking, I can actually give you a short tour, just like a short introduction. I am missing my commander and I'm missing my crew number, O2 Pronica. They're great people. I hope you can meet them. They're still working hard to set everything. They've granted me this hour so I can talk to you. They've been really kind to accommodate that in my schedule. So I'm so thankful. But let's start. So I'm going to slowly turn the camera and try to rotate. We'll start from here. Actually, this is our gateway to the lunar rover. We have it's really cool. Everybody is having their signature, and so will we. If you can look through, you can see a pathway that's leading to our rover, which we can drive and we can do things with. It's almost like a minivan in a way. It is so cool, and we can even have lunches there because it's considered that it's enclosed a bit. This room, I can't show you too much about it. It's our mission control. We have a lot of classified things going on. We have the kitchen that is not that important that we're actually stacking right now. It's also filled. Let's try to avoid that mess. Let me turn the camera again. These are our floors. We have bunk beds. I think this is going to be mine over here. And then let's leave the habitat and show you a bit more around. So here is the exercise module.
Ooh.
We do a lot of cool research here. Let me see if somebody is inside and if we can film. Just let me switch my camera. Hi, can I show the exercise module for the interview? Thank you so much. We're also doing tours for other students and everybody that is interested for this research. So let me show you a bit about it. They've emptied it really quick. This is our exercise module. We have a lot of equipment here. Some is stored in the back. We're doing a lot of classified research, and we have suits that we test here that are displayed over there for a lot of our vitals. And from the exercise module, I will go to another one. So this is our geology module. Sorry, I have to knock. I'm being too short because we have a lot of classified information. So it's, oh, okay. Let me go to another one and then we'll switch for sure. Yeah, okay. The geology module is now busy, but let me show you where we do one of the most cool things. This is our EVA module. It stands for extravehicular activities. It's when we're going to put on our flight suits and go out of the habitat. So it's just a typical setup. We're still setting everything up as we speak. And the most exciting thing is this chamber that has our suits. It used to be blueberry and tangerine. Tangerine is replaced with a novel one. That's all I can tell and say to you right now. I'm gonna be in one of these suits. I even posted in my social media, which is Astro lowercase Smarta. I have posted an address where people can actually send me mail. We need to do this a bit vintage, a bit the old-fashioned way. I've posted the address where I can get mail in. And the cool part is that I can actually put on a suit and secure the precious cargo that's gonna be dropped outside as a resupply mission. So that's kind of cool to have.
Yeah.
Okay, let me take you to another module and see what is available.
Wow, this is really cool. This is just how, as I imagined it, like an analog mission. This is very exciting.
It is a lot of work. This is our planned production module. Let me see if it's unlocked, because again, classified research. Okay, it is. So it's shut down. Let me try to power it on. Give me 1 second. Perfect. Okay, I just put one light on. We have an ExoLab here, and it's research that's also brought up on the ISS, and the same experiments that are on Earth with the ExoLab can be in space. But that's all I'm gonna tell you. And we can set plants here, and we can feed ourselves based on what grows here. And we have a lot of options like basil or tomatoes that we can plant based on the mission days. So we can do a lot of things. We can do salads and everything you can imagine and test them and see how their growth is, see what works and what doesn't work. It's just gonna be a cool thing to add in our meals and have some time off to do some fun activities. We can even plant our plants. We have a lot of equipment here, and it's really, 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 really exciting to do. I think we're gonna have a lot of time spent here. Okay, let me turn that off real quick. Okay, let me switch the camera to my face just in case people come and we have to switch in the hallway. We don't want to really bother them. The next one that I'm going to show you is the geology module. So let me see if there's people inside. Okay, perfect. Always a good knock just to make sure. Okay, it's empty. This is, I think, my own little lab, because I think I'll do the geology here. We have a lot of cool things here. We have a microscope. We have a lot of things that we can sample and test the rocks that are gonna bring in, the really precious things that we're gonna try to find during our EVA. There was a 3D printer here, but I'm not sure if we're gonna get one for this mission. outside of this research, we have like more things to test in that chamber. We also have drones, so we fly drones as a part of we have a simulation, and then we also have literal drone testing. Okay, the sun is out and bright. That's cool. I'm gonna go back to the core module now. That's just a short tour. Sorry for having a bit of classified information and not being able to share everything with you, but I hope that that was a cool intro and a bit of a brief of what I'm gonna do here. Hopefully, as time passes, I'm gonna share more. But this is our core module, so I'm gonna enter and see you on Zoom.
Thank you for that incredible tour. I had an incredible time just seeing the different parts of the analog habitat. Honestly, it was just how I imagined it. Just like one of those movies where you had those different stations and what you're doing. Really thank you so much for kind of giving us that exclusive tour because as someone who wants to become an analog astronaut, and I'm sure a lot of students who are watching who want to become astronauts can really use this insight into what it looks like, what it feels like, preparing to become an astronaut and what that mission would look like. So thank you so much for that. That was incredibly exciting. And, I'm so excited to see what happens and the results you guys get from this experiment.
We have so many experiments that are onboarding and that are we're getting trained for them. It's a lot of challenges that you have to overtake. It's a really rough schedule. It's really serious. We're going to be cut off everything. You know that Mars usually has delays because it's far from Earth. So it's from 6 minutes to 25-ish minutes of the delay actually for one message to go through based on how distant the planets are. However, analog missions, my experience with them is shown different adaptations of time. One mission can take 10 minutes for sending a message, the other is 20. We're cut off for 20 minutes to send a message and then 20 to receive, which is 40 in total. So it's going to be challenging. But I hope that we can share outstanding research as soon as we can publish it. There's so much ongoing here. There's so much to unwrap and show to the world. And hopefully we're going to have an impact, and hopefully it's going to be really exciting. And we really want novel people to come aboard. We really want to spread the word with this analog. And the more we spread the word, the more of you can apply. And I hope one day I'll be one of your mission commander in your future watchers. Perhaps you or anyone else who wants to apply. When you get the experience and when you are able to devote the time necessary for the training, we would definitely love to have you. And I am so sorry it was really quick. There's a lot of people coming before the mission. We're gonna have our suits tomorrow on, our flight suits tomorrow on, and take pictures when we get in. It's so official. This is actually NASA funded, and NASA supports UND a lot and this habitat a lot. So I'm really fortunate to be here. I'm actually the first analog astronaut from my country, Macedonia, and I am here with 2 people from India. So it was going to be incredible if they were here, but they're not. And maybe the mission commander could have shared more. For now, I still have the limitation for that. So it's a bit we have to delegate tasks properly. So we'll see what else I can show you or share. Maybe post mission we can do something else as a tour.
Yeah, even what you showed right now was just absolutely mind-blowing to me, and it was just so cool to see the facility and to see the different environments because I think it's really cool to imagine it, but then to actually be able to see a real habitat in a place that you'll be isolated in for a few days, I think is incredible. And first off, I have to say congratulations on what you're doing.
Thank you.
Becoming, an analog astronaut and representing your country is such a great step, and I think a lot of younger students will greatly, I know that I do, will greatly look up to you and the work that you're doing. So, congratulations. I'm really, really excited.
I'm glad we can do this in this ad hoc moment where I'm just thrown into a habitat and I can show you some parts of it at least. So I'm really fortunate they said yes to this, and hopefully we can have more insight. I'm really happy to do this.
Going in that analog astronaut theme, I'm curious, what inspired you or motivated you to become an analog astronaut? Or maybe we could even start with the question of what was that aha moment that got you excited about space that led you to where you are today?
I was always really curious as a kid growing up. I always wanted to do hands-on things and build things, and that led me towards the engineering path of things. Creativity was an added value to that because I was creative. I could solve problems in a really different way. So I found out that the Western civilizations, if you will, if I can place it like that, really cherish when you have a different viewpoint and when you can implement different solutions that might lead to problem solving better or stuff like that. So space was always something I was really extremely focused on, even when growing up. So I think when I started my engineering career, I needed more exploration. And I just migrated from a typical engineering job to an exploration of space one with the same features, if you can put it like that. So that was a big driver forward. And then when I got to the space sector, I figured out that I can do a lot of intensive things like intensive training. I have NAUI diving classes. I'm waiting for my NAUI license. That is PADI and NAUI are the big techniques to learn when you're diving and in the diving scene. So I figured out that I can do those harsh things and that I can be efficient under stress. And I guess one thing led to the other. I think interest was the most the thing pushing me forward. For example, I was working on the she habitat at ISU. I was a part of the Euromoon Mars. I did a basic analog mission training through the Austrian Space Forum, and just one thing led to the other. And I think that me being able to innovate, problem solve, work under pressure, perform intense activities, work harsh schedules, and bring valuable research got me to where I am right now, which is not impossible. I know a lot of people in the space sector work hard, and a lot of people can actually endure this. So that's why we have sort of like an analog uprise, and the space sector of analogs is currently booming, private, government, analogs, and others.
Yeah, I think you mentioned like some really amazing points that I really want to highlight, which is one, hearing your curiosity kind of stemming from childhood of, just being the creative space of the aerospace sector is what drew you in. And I think that's just amazing because a lot of students can relate with that. What excites you about space is just the mysterious factor of not knowing a lot about space and trying to be able to discover and innovate in this space. But also what you mentioned of trying to become an astronaut was always like, going into this research area was something that you were intrigued by and interested by, but you didn't just dream about it. You took steps to achieve that, whether that be, you were saying skydiving, your certifications that you did, the different NASA programs that you took part in, the, degrees, the certifications. I think all of that were just steps you took to get closer to achieving that ultimate or one of the part of your larger goals you have in mind. So I think that's definitely, a strong statement that you need to work in smaller goals to achieve a larger one that you may have.
Absolutely. And towards that path, you're gonna, if you are paving the path forward in regions that essentially don't have space exploration, you will have a lot of obstacles, more obstacles than people who come from space-bearing nations with rich history. So people don't essentially know a lot of history of space. They don't have the ties. They don't have the understanding. So paving the path forward, if you break that glass ceiling, it's gonna cut you the hardest in a way. But if you can tackle that and endure that and keep pushing forward, you can open the door and pathway for so many people. And it's one step at a time. Definitely, you can get discouraged. You're gonna have a lot of rejection. You're gonna have a lot of disadvantages if you don't have a space program or scholarships that can fund your path forward, or a space ecosystem that can push you forward. So those are big issues or challenges that you have to tackle on your own. But if you want it hard enough, I think you can find your place under the stars in the ecosystem of space.
Beautifully said. And I think that perfectly like transitions to my next question of what was your largest obstacle? And I think you've kind of touched on it, which you said you weren't from a space-faring nation, but whether that be that obstacle or a different one, did you have any obstacles? And more importantly, how did you overcome them?
Yeah, oh, wow. Obstacles are many. First and foremost, you cannot even apply to the jobs you want in the countries that have a space varying. There are space varying nations and that have a space industry. First and foremost, though, the biggest obstacle, of course, is citizenship. Second, if you want to get space to be present in your own region or country, there's you don't know where to start from. um so you can get excluded both ways in a way, and that is exactly why I believe that space has to be accessible for all. Space has to be that biased and not limiting to age, nationality, where you come from, race, gender. All of it has to be inclusive, and I hope I'm learning and growing, and I hope I can make more opportunities for people who come from those kind of backgrounds or regions that limit them to have the access. And I think that the steps you take are longer in time and duration, and you have to prove yourself more and work harder than your other peers. So it's not that you're not work it's not that the sector is not working hard enough. Space is known to be harsh, both outer and the industry itself, that they're really challenging and competitive, and but it's still a bubble. So you have a lot of obstacles there. You have to breach that bubble and get new people on board through education. You have to prove yourself, although you have colleagues who work super hard and super intense, you have to outdo that. So it's important to have self-care and allocate time to your needs and not have burnouts. I've known to be a workaholic on many occasions and have really unhealthy work-life balance, and I'm trying to fix that. But to tackle some obstacles and to achieve and to meet the deadlines of so many projects, you essentially have to push through in a way. So hopefully after me, and after the path I'm opening forward for other people, we can work on the balance after I after I get there, and try to, you know, give more opportunities.
100%. I think it's so important to recognize what may be your weaknesses or obstacles and figure out ways that you can overcome it or work around it. And also, in the process of trying to overcome those obstacles and trying to find that opportunity that will enable you to do what you love, making sure you're taking care of yourself and making sure that you're aware of what's mentally and physically happening to yourself. I think that's always so important and something that we tend to overlook, especially
Sure.
when we're being very ambitious and trying to trek a path that's not already been done before. Yeah, and I'm curious, kind of more now that we're able to learn a little bit about your journey and your background. I'm curious more of your insights on the aerospace sector. So, what makes you excited and what makes you nervous for the future of the aerospace industry?
What excites me the most is the opportunities you get today. We essentially did not have these 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. The commercial space sector is something that I'm really looking forward to, because like that you can be included a way more than you used to. And through the commercial sector, if you do something groundbreaking, you can actually be taken seriously on a different scale. Not that you don't have to, you essentially, it's okay to have to have the moment of being taken seriously initially, but if you have to go those extra steps, this is a proper way to show your abilities and skills, so you lower that barrier of entry. Um, the human space flight research is really exciting nowadays. I think we're gaining a lot of that through analogs as well. It's really important. I love the uprising of analogs. I love the uprising of commercial space. That those two parts are really, really, really exciting, because through that we can really impact the whole world, include everyone, and create so much more than there was before, and see everybody in a way come on board through so many initiatives. So I love that space and STEM exploration are paving the path forward of novelty and of novel research and of excitement. So that's really important. Stressors, one thing that's really concerning me about stress is if I can actually pave the path forward and create genuine interest for my region. I would really love to see legislation and steps forward to showcase to that region that it's really important to have space exploration. I know that a lot of research for space-faring countries show that taxpayers' money invested in space exploration is always giving back to Earth and to research and to benefits in times 5 or times 6. I'm not sure about the number. Don't quote me on this. We have to check it. But I know that there's been research where you develop something for space exploration and then it is really benefiting the whole society times 3, 4, 5, or 6. And one of the ways I did so many studies of including my region and viable options of how to include my region. And one of the studies that I did is the plausible thing to include Macedonia as a country in space exploration is through education. So hopefully we can breach more and offer more of space, and we really get the proper interest, because I do want that region to know what Artemis is. I don't want to essentially have to explain it. You have to explain basic concepts to the masses, but I want to create a small hub that actually keeps track and knows, and I want them to be the people that you can go to for questions or initiatives, or I just want to create that snowball effect for space exploration in the Balkans, because I think it has so much potential. And I've met so many incredible people on the way that have shown interest and that I could include more severely, but I just really want it to be a bit more and a bit more serious. So that's my only concern, but I'm hoping we're on a good track.
Definitely. Incredible points on both what makes you excited and what makes you nervous. I think starting off with what makes you excited, especially what you said about analog missions and human spaceflight, personally also excites me. I really am hoping to go on an analog mission one day, but more importantly, I love studying humans in space and what happens to the human body in space. And so definitely seeing the space medicine side of things starting to pick up and start becoming more relevant to space research that's being done on the ISS and on analog missions on Earth greatly excites me. And I think it can just provide a whole new perspective on medicine as a whole. So I'm very excited about that. And also, what makes me nervous about how can we incorporate on a larger scale space into emerging space nations, I think is critical, because we're starting to see new space agencies opening up. I know that Zimbabwe just recently created the Zimbabwe Space Agency, and I think starting to take these new space agencies that are developing and making sure they have the support to be able to create the impact that we see in other nations is critical. So definitely, we need to talk right after this interview about ways that Ignited Thinkers could get involved with Macedonia and Macedonia space education, because I think there's so much alignment with our interests. So we definitely have to talk about that. But more importantly, yes, did you want to say something?
Yes, that's exactly when we were studying about one another, I saw that our core values lie in the same pathway. So I would love to have you on board. You're more than welcome to be present and the Ignite Thinkers as well. I'm so happy to be a part of the series and contribute. So if you can use me in any fashion, shape, or form, or if you can create anything exciting, I would be more than willing to contribute, and my team as well, because I have a team of like 5 or 6 people really excited and trying to change things back home. So that's cool. I'm on the forefront here, and they're picking up the steam. And I'm so fortunate to have that. So yes, we're absolutely interested.
I'm so excited then, because I have been working towards helping educate younger students in space and get them excited about space. And so knowing that Macedonia is starting to become that force and you're kind of spearheading or being one of the forefront leaders of that makes me really excited. And so I'm excited to work with you. But more on the analog missions, kind of similar to my previous question, specifically in analog missions, because that's kind of where you're headed right now. What makes you the most excited, or how do you see analog missions changing within the next 5 to 10 years? Like, do you see analog missions growing or becoming different? What are your thoughts?
I love how we actually have people who fly to space just from having previous analog experience. That's a really incredible thing. What also is mind-blowing to me is how much agencies are involved into the analog research, especially of the analogs they invest their resources in, and what they can give you as of opportunities and resources. When you think about analogs that have a lot of NASA involvement or ESA involvement, ESA, or any kind of groundbreaking research made from novel companies that are coming here and testing their things on the ISS as well as on Earth, being able to compare that and being able to take part in that hands-on is so meaningful to a researcher as a human being, but also just the agency of how that, or the industry of how that is translating both ways. So the sector coming up with more analogs and just analogs having a peak of existence, and private analogs, and just organizations forming novel ones, and just that being a startup now, being able to create a startup now and having that ecosystem of analogs growing and expanding is really, I think, interesting, because people can participate and be included from all walks of life. You can easily have a basic analog mission training and learn all the interesting things, understand how much it goes into that, understand the training, understand the hierarchy, understand the phrases, understand the science. And from that point onwards, you can actually participate, especially if you have a background that is fitting to those, fitting to those extremes in a way. So that's really interesting to watch. If you told me 10 years ago that this is possible, I was gonna wait to see, but now I really know that we are in really, really, really outstanding hands when it comes to opportunities.
Definitely. The rapid expansion of the aerospace sector in both the commercial side and the government side, the support that we're getting to be able to continuously invest in these experiments that not only advance space transportation and space exploration, but help everyone here back on Earth. I think it's just starting to expand, exponentially. And so I'm incredibly excited to see within the next 10 years how the space continuously evolves. I know with privatization, there's a lot more commercial space stations being developed now by companies like Orbital Reef and Orbital Assembly, Axiom. And so I'm really excited to see all of these space stations go up and to accommodate more individuals like yourselves in space to conduct that research. Yes. And so not necessarily just doing research on Earth, but now taking everything that we're simulating to so much more space, because when commercial space stations go up, I hear the ones that they're building right now are much larger than the ISS with more capabilities. And so I'm excited to see how we can utilize that, and also utilize analog missions and see how that dynamic changes within the next 10 to 15 years.
It's good to have pre-trained people, definitely. And I see a lot of analogs that are having actual results that are really meaningful and impactful. It's not just buzzwords. And people who are not necessarily in the space sector maybe don't realize the importance or what even an analog is, or that agencies do this to train their own astronauts, and that those are the same staples that other analogs adapt or abide by. So it's really vital to have it right now, just because we're in that sweet spot of actual novel ignition towards space.
100%. Yeah, I think that was it perfectly encapsulates the spirit of an analog mission, which is to really emulate the space conditions to understand science in a completely different way. And I think that will benefit every single human or every single person, our planet, on Earth and beyond. So definitely. And my last and final question for you, now that we were able to understand, well, first get an exclusive tour of that analog habitat, but also learn about your journey, what inspired you and what keeps you motivated to inspiring the next generation, and learning about your insights into the future. My last and final question for you is, what final piece of advice would you give for students in high school or in college, young professionals, something that you wish you knew when you were maybe, you're already very young, but when you're in high school or college, something that you wish you knew? What's one piece of advice you wish you could give your younger self?
I guess being a woman in the industry, like many other, and having the imposter syndrome, like many other, is interesting because it can really drag you in so many ways on a scale you don't want to be dragged down. And I think that believing in themselves and fighting for what's right and fighting for what they want and being themselves is the general thing. So you have to believe in your capabilities, not quit, and be yourself no matter what. I think that will resonate with more people than the other ones who are just naysayers. I think if you have the discipline to stick through, um, try to grow and master your skill set, it will eventually showcase it through you and let you shine. So that's a really big part that I'm still working on. I'm trying to be that imposter syndrome. I'm trying to not listen to a lot of people who told me I cannot do it, or I won't do it, or it is not for me, or I'll fail just because I come from a country that does not have a space exploration program, or just because the surroundings I was in previously didn't have the opportunity that I was able to grasp or build for myself. I feel like when people fail themselves, they try to project that onto you, and that's not necessarily your future or your case. So I really think that with discipline and hard work, you're gonna end up where you really want to be in life at the end and be really happy and content. So I'm on the proper path, and I hope that I can inspire a whole next generation to believe in themselves and be them, uniquely them, and not be afraid to be vocal or even speak up in the industry. You can almost not speak up when there's injustice, or when you're excluded. So I wish we could fight on the belonging a bit more and be more vocal, and that's the only way we can actually solve that. Yes, you're gonna be isolated at first if you try to speak up as the forefront, as the single person doing that, but more will follow after that. So this is actually lovely, having the same values, connecting with the same like-minded people who believe that you all collectively can do that no matter what anyone says is really important. So going to that path of hard work and surrounding yourself with your people who make things happen instead of just say no is really significant.
Wow. Yeah, I really, really needed to hear that. I think those words were incredibly powerful. I think just sometimes getting that reminder that you can do it if you believe in yourself. And the people who may say no to you are naysayers, and you should surround yourself with individuals who believe in the work that you're doing or have similar visions to you. I think you perfectly encapsulate how it's so important, especially as a minority in the aerospace sector, to really find that community who can uplift you towards your goals instead of worrying about the people who don't believe that you could accomplish something. And I think already being the first, Macedonia analog astronaut, and I think what you're doing already shows and inspires so many young students to really break out of their shell and to take a risk to move forward. But also what you're doing to support bringing space education into Macedonia, I think is incredible. So really, thank you so much for your advice and what you were saying. I know that I am incredibly inspired by all that you've already accomplished, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully meeting you in person one day. And good luck on the rest of your analog mission.
I can't wait to meet you actually. And if you ever need somebody to boost you up or hype you up, I would love to do that.
Thank
Trust
you.
me, I've been on both sides of the spectrum where you have a really naysaying community where nothing works, and you have a really uplifting community. And the job or the progress that you can finish with those who welcome you is remarkable. And you have to essentially also be welcoming to uplift them as well. So it's like a back and forth help or aid, or it's a process where you together collectively spread that positivity and go forward and try to solve all the issues that were previously just a no, 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 we can't do that. So that's remarkable to see, and definitely those communities thrive more than the others. So I'm happy you're creating one for yourself. What you're doing is really resonating to a lot of people. We love what you do, and we love being a part of that. Or even if it's chaotic and we have to work with our schedules that are kind of hectic, we still make it happen. And that's what's really important. So I thank you for doing all of your lovely work.
Thank you. Thank you for inspiring the next generation.